You're watching Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. So let's jump right into it. This episode is going to be dedicated to Porsha's baby special, which we know is a 3-episode special on Bravo TV. So during season 11 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, we got to watch Porsha redeem herself. We got to watch her fall in love. You know, now we know that she's pregnant, she's engaged. We got to watch her repair her relationship with Kandi. It's just been absolutely great. It's been a great year for Porsha. So now we are entering into her baby special where, because it's only 3 episodes, Bravo has to jump right into it. So we open with Porsha narrating with her Southern accent, a very Atlanta hood fairy tale, right? I absolutely love it. Porsha is talking about how she met her hot dog king, and you know, she's a peachy princess, and together they have formed Princess PJ, which who we now know is known as Pilar Janae, right? So on to the maternity shoot. Porsha rents a mansion and she is doing it Porsha style. You know, Porsha's always been known for her body. And so even in pregnancy, there's no shame in her game. Okay. This maternity shoot is Porsha in lingerie and all belly. This is probably the first, the only, and the absolute last time that Porsha will have booty do. And if you don't know what that is, Google it, honey. All right. So we get to see Porsha and Dennis, you know, loving on each other, him rubbing her belly, you know, his bald head next to her belly, super precious, super sweet. And then Porsha even takes it the extra mile and decides to bring hot dogs for her hot dog king into the photo shoot, which I found to be very ironic and reminiscent of another former housewife who decided to use pickles in her maternity shoot. Sound familiar? One of the things that we got to see last season while Porsha and Dennis were working through some of their issues was him agreeing to sell his Atlanta condo and move to Duluth so that they could start their family. They both agreed that this may or may not be their forever home. I think they said that they were going to finish the basement, add a pool, and they would stay there for a little while. But what we see quickly in this episode is this house is going to become a thing of strife for both Porsha and Dennis. Dennis has made it clear, you know, kind of that he does not feel like it's his home because it is very much Porsha's home. It was her divorce home, right? She had to rebuild to actually get this home. And so she's very attached to it. But we get to see Dennis go downstairs and we get to see the contents of his life scattered about in this unfinished basement. And so, you know, who would really feel welcome in that? Which I have to give credit to Shamia and her sister Lauren for really calling her out on that. They're like, girl, you haven't even made space for the man in the closet. How is he ever gonna feel comfortable here? And I think that it's great that they aren't just, you know, being yes men or just telling her what she wants to hear. They're just straight up telling her, you know, while you're comfortable, yes, this is your forever home. When you thought that you were going to be single, you weren't sure if you were going to have children. This was, you know, your forever home for this period in your life. You have now grown to another period in your life and you have to welcome this man into your life. And so, no, he's not going to be comfortable just moving into his woman's house. And so this is another example of Bravo just jumping right into it because we only have 3 episodes, 3 hours to see how this ends, right? And so, you know, there you have it. I also want to point out that during this conversation, they are doing the belly cast for Porsha, which I've heard is super, super hard. And like, if you don't do it right, it just comes out looking cheap and corny and et cetera, et cetera. And they look like professionals. They are laying it on smooth, you know, and Porsha seems just absolutely comfortable. And so I look forward to seeing what the actual outcome of that is, if we ever get to see what that outcome is. In the next scene, we get to watch Porsha go shopping for baby clothes with Gary, you know, Gary with the T. So if you watch Dish Nation, you know that he is her co-worker. He's also on Hot 107.9, which is a local Atlanta radio station. But Portia's not on it in the morning. Actually, even Marcel is on it in the morning. But anyway, so we get to see them go shopping for baby clothes. And we get to see or listen to Porsha discuss like the details of her baby shower. We know that she wants a winter wonderland. We know that Gary with the T is hosting. We know that Dennis wants to do a stand-up act, which I would just go ahead and spill the beans on that right now because we will not be addressing this later on in the episode. It was corny. corny. Everyone was an absolute great sport about it, and Gary absolutely lightened the mood during the baby shower. He's held up cue cards, for people to laugh. So he absolutely lightened the mood, which was great, but it was corny, okay? And don't let anybody tell you any different. As I've already mentioned, Bravo already drives home this whole Dennis not feeling welcome in Porsha's home. We see that in the previews. We've seen that rear its ugly head already in the beginnings of this episode. And so it's kind of driven home even more when Porsha and Dennis decide to go house hunting, right? Which, of course, no woman approaching her due date is really even considering moving. And so it's really just something to try to hush Dennis up and just kind of appease him right now. But I really would say that backfires on Porsha during this episode, right? Because they go house hunting and they see this house. It is like a music video home. You walk into the house and there's a bar right there. There's a pool, pretty much like in the living room or in a room off the living room. And it's completely taking Dennis back to his Playboy days, his pre-Porsha, pre-PJ days. And while I think that Dennis has the best intentions, he kind of messes up because, as we find out later on in the episode, he puts in an offer on the house without even consulting Porsha. And as Porsha states, she is not unlike most women who, and I think she says coming out of a marriage or divorce has baggage, but I think any woman that's been in a serious relationship has baggage. And, men do as well, but Porsha's giving us her point of view, which I think is important. Dennis puts in an offer, I think, with the best of intentions. However, it's a little bit premature. And with Porsha's hormones being all over the place, she actually gets pretty upset. And I think that the ladies really do rally around her, and I do enjoy seeing that part of it. That happened during dinner, which I failed to mention. Another thing that happened during dinner, which I totally appreciate Lauren being the voice of reason, right, is Porsha wants a nanny, she wants a night nurse, and then she wants the grandmothers to move in full time. She pretty much wants around the clock help. And Lauren raises a great question as to, well, when are you going to get quality time to bond with your baby? And so Porsha, bless her heart, it's just like, what you mean? My nipple in her mouth is bonding time, which I thought was pretty funny. But Lauren raises a good question. You do have to get up and do some things on your own. Dennis doesn't back Porsha up. He immediately backs off of the night nurse, which apparently in private they decided that they needed. He also completely backs off of having his mom move in and clearing her schedule to live with them, right? He just is sitting there being mute, not really providing much feedback as it pertains to that. And so I find that to be super interesting because it furthers Porsha's point as to him being a mama's boy, and it furthers my point of view as to his mom is overstepping. And although he does a good job of putting her in her place, it's still just kind of like, why doesn't she know that, you got it from here? She's very much in the corner being his hype man. You need to be the man. You need to lead. She needs to sit back and let you lead. Do I need to talk to her? Just completely out of line. And I just find that to be interesting. And I just want to see how that plays out. Because if you remember during the season 11 reunion, Porsha said that, she wanted to say that his mom was finding her voice, but actually that she had found her voice a tad bit too much and that she actually needed her to be quiet. And so I think that we'll get to see some of that rear its ugly head a little bit more as we get into these next two episodes. Now it's on to the fun part, right? It's on to the baby shower, where it is what does she call it? A winter wonderland. However, Porsha will be arriving wearing rose gold, which is a personal favorite color of mine. Maybe it's a southern thing because I'm a peach too. Who knows? But one of the things that stands out to me as far as prep for the baby shower is when Porsha asks about the trees, because that part was funny. It was a very small part of the show, but something that I found to be funny. I also appreciate everybody adhering to her dress code and wearing predominantly white. And it is a over-the-top baby shower, one that only Porsha could appreciate. We have rose gold ballerinas. Once again, we have everybody wearing all white. We have Dennis doing his stand-up, which we've addressed earlier and will not go back to. Gary with the T does a great job of hosting. And, you know, it is just, we get to see Porsha in her element. We get to see her glowing. We get to see her happy. We get to see her smiling. And, you know, this is her first baby shower. Like she said, no one is really super enthusiastic about the second, the third, the fourth, or the fifth baby shower. And so we really get to see her just celebrate bringing in this life. And it is just so much joy, and it's super exciting. So if I had to sum up this episode, I would say that this episode is a great introductory episode, and it is like super consumed and covered in love. You get to see the love that they have for one another, and I really, really enjoy seeing that. But I did want to pose a few questions to you guys because there were a few things that stood out to me. So number one is Mama McKinley. I think her name's Gina. That just came to me out of nowhere. But is Mama McKinley overstepping? Right? Is she just out of line? Two, is Porsha wrong? Like, are we viewing this wrong as far as Dennis being in the basement? Should Dennis feel welcome? We see in the preview that he talks about her coming at him with the rental agreement, you know? So is Dennis jumping the gun with this desire to move? How would you handle that? What's your point of view on that? And I think number three, a good question is, how do you think Porsha's handling the pregnancy? Is she completely out of line with wanting the nanny, the night nurse, and for the grandparents, or specifically the grandmothers, to move in? Like, is she tripping? Because I think that's a lot. I couldn't imagine having my in-laws or even my mom with me 24/7. I mean, and I know that you're going to need the help with a baby, but yikes, it just sounds like a lot. And my last question would be, do you think that Porsha and Dennis have what it takes to make it? I personally think that they do, but I think that they have to communicate and speak to each other with love. I think that that is the foundation, and they'll be fine as long as they continue to do those things and also keep other people out of their relationship, parents included. I think they'll be fine. So tell me what you think. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, find us on Facebook. Let's continue the conversation. I'm always interested in what you have to say. Thanks for watching. Bye. This video has been Queenie B approved. Thanks for watching. But don't stop there. Let's head on over to Instagram and Twitter and keep the conversation going. I'll meet you there. Bye-bye.